Hello, this is Hervé from ComicBookBin, filling you in since 2002. So today we're going to be looking at Aurora. Aurora is a member of Alpha Flight and the sister of Northstar, who's probably better known. Why am I reviewing Aurora today? Well, this is what we call St-Jean Baptiste in Quebec and Canada. It is a national holiday of French Canadians. A few years ago, I did review Northstar in a written review at ComicBookBin. I had no review for Aurora yet, so I decided that for today I'm gonna just review her. I also did review Guardian. This is Guardian a few years ago also, so probably next week I'll do his wife, Vindicator. So what can I say about this set? Well, the set is very simple. Guardian did not come with the rest of Alpha Flight. He's an extra figure that was sold separately with a build figure part. The other set was an Amazon exclusive, sold with Snowbird, Aurora, Puck, Vindicator, Shaman, and Northstar. The one missing character, who's a classic Alpha Flight member, is Sasquatch. I do have a Sasquatch, and I do have a review at ComicBookBin, but it's for the 2005, I believe, toy-based version, not a version that would have been made by Hasbro recently. So Aurora, she uses probably the same build as Snowbird, but it's a different build overall from Vindicator. The chest torso does not seem to be exactly the same as Vindicator, but the hands are interchangeable. So if you have several hands, the white hands, you can actually exchange them between the characters, between those two characters. What can I say about Aurora? Well, Aurora is not the most popular of the Alpha Flight members. She's a French Canadian. If you ask me, she should have been called Aurore, which is her name in French. And Northstar should have been called Boreal. So when you put the two together, it gives you Aurore Boreal or Aurora Borealis. Some people don't like the fact that they probably should be named after Francophone, since they are Francophone characters. But I digress. Now, what's interesting about Aurora? Well, Aurora is a classic John Byrne character. And like most John Byrne characters, she has a crazy life, crazy existence. Well, just like her brother. At the time when John Byrne created them and when other writers started writing Alpha Flight comics, they did everything with those characters. It didn't make any sense. So she has a split personality, was raised by none, probably was beaten and sequestrated as a kid. Her brother has a history that's as crazy. Northstar, people know him because he's the gay character, but before that, he was an Olympic ski medalist, an Olympian, who uses powers basically to cheat and get medals. But he was also a member of the FLQ. The FLQ is a terrorist group that was in Quebec in the 1960s and the 1970s. They wanted Quebec to separate from the rest of Canada. So they did a few bad things like kidnapping officials and killing one of them. And they mentioned that in the comics that Northstar was a former quote-unquote separatist, secessionist, terrorist, which is kind of ridiculous when you look at it. So Northstar has been everything. He's been an Olympic gold medalist, a terrorist, Now he's gay. For a while, he was an entrepreneur. He's also a mutant. And at one point, they said that he had maybe AIDS. Crazy history. Now, Aurora still has the multiple personality disorder. The thing with the nuns, that's over the top, but that's Marvel Comics for you. If you look at the rest of Alpha Flight, Vindicator has also had a crazy history. Well, after her husband, Guardian, died, she became the leader of Alpha Flight. I really liked her as a kid. She was a very good role model. You'll notice that she's wearing glasses. Well, in her secret identity, she has glasses. She's one of a few female characters with glasses who's also a superheroine, just like Batgirl. And she happens to have red hair. The reason I think her history is also messed up is in some of the stories from the 2000s, they changed it. So she became some kind of villain against her husband or something like that. She was controlled by the master of the world or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. And that story was never really resolved in the comics for some reason. Her husband, Guardian, also has a crazy history. His Canadian flag looks a bit better than the one on Vindicator, but not that much better. It's really a hideous rendering of the Canadian flag. It's not good. I'm not sure which build they use for this character. He kind of reminds me of Batman. Northstar has the Sunfire body, which was also used for Quicksilver. As for Shaman in the back, Shaman uses the classic Bucky cap build. Recognize this build anywhere. Snowbird uses the same build, it seems, as Aurora. They both have a lot of difficulty standing up. Same thing for Vindicator. Now Puck is an original sculpt, but this figure was already released as a Build-A-Figure in a different set. If I'm not mistaken, they changed the head or something like that. I do know that this figure can stand on its hands pretty well. Let's see if I can do it quickly. Well, it used to. For some reason, he's an acrobat, but you should be able to put him on his hands easily. He's a great character. I've always liked him. Very different from anyone else in comics. Very original and very useful and really typically Canadian. I mean, Puck, you can't be more Canadian than a guy named Puck. Like I mentioned, I don't have Sasquatch. Maybe one day I'll get the Marvel Legends version of Sasquatch. I do have a Toy Biz somewhere stored in storage somewhere. What can we say about Aurora? Well, she has basic articulation, single joints for the elbows. I'm not going to try to bend them. They're very sensitive, and I did not give this figure a bath, which means they could probably break if I try to force them too much. I won't. Like most female action figures, she has no butterfly joints. Not very good. Her head is very limited. She has hair. Usually figures with hair, mostly females, have the same problem. They can't move very much. You can tell that by her face that a version of Aurora and Northstar were thought to be elves or something like that, which is the pointy ears and the triangle-shaped face. When they touch those two characters, they should be able to produce light, obviously not with the toy. But when they touch, just like the Wonder Twin activate, they produce light. just like Northstar has the power of flight, super fast flight. She can also run very fast. Both of them run much faster than Quicksilver. Well, the classic Quicksilver, I'm not sure exactly about the current version of Quicksilver. Every couple of years, Marvel tries to give him extra powers so he can look more menacing or more interesting next to the Flash. At one point, she did ask her boyfriend, oops, see what I meant when I said that those are very sensitive? They like to fall a lot. I usually use action figure stands with them. So Aurora had the power to produce light on her own after she got her boyfriend or husband, Sasquatch, to make a few changes on her. I don't like this kind of articulation here. It doesn't do very much. It's not really, it's a bulk joint, but it doesn't move much, so it's not even an ab crunch. She doesn't do a full split. She does have swivel at the thighs and double knee articulation, but she cannot touch her own butt. If you try to pause this figure in an action pause, it's not going to do much for you. She can't really stand on her own, so she's probably going to fall. You can try. Yeah, I bet she's going to fall very soon. I'm not sure completely. And I bet, yeah, she will fall eventually. She's what I call a faller. Oops. Is this Puck holding her? Yeah. I like this action figure backdrop. It helps with figures that don't usually stand well to pause them. They usually, there's enough ridges and nooks that the figure can kind of stand on its own a little bit. Nope, see, it's not easy to pause this figure. Like I mentioned, oops, I want her to run, but she can't really run, and she can't even look up very much. Okay, and now for Puck. Group shot. Yes. What else can I say about Aurora? She's an okay character. Not the type of character that you'll see retail on her own. So this set, except for Guardian of course, was an Amazon exclusive Alpha Flight set. The box was gorgeous, by the way, but I don't have it here. It's a gorgeous box. I didn't even throw it. Usually I throw my boxes, but not this one. It was beautiful. It's a figure. If you're completist, or if you like Alpha Flight, or if you're Canadian, this set is for you. Aurora is not the highlight of this set, unfortunately. I would say the highlight of this set is Puck. Of all the figures, Puck is probably the best. The paint job is not the best, by the way. You can see that there's spots all over the place. It seems that the base plastic is white. It was painted black. Of all those figures, you can see that they have a silverish tone, even Guardian. They were cast in that kind of plastic, and black was put on top of it. The difference is with, obviously, Snowbird was probably cast in blue plastic and then painted on, which is why she doesn't have that silverish look. Now I bet she's gonna fall because she's a faller. Okay, she's not a faller. What I'll do for Snowbird, I do have a wolf somewhere, a white wolf. I'll buy more animals, white animals, so that I can mimic when she transforms into them. So this is Aurora, this is Alpha Flight, this is Hervé from Comic Book Bin, filling you in since 2002.